You've always wanted to write a novel and publish it and hold it in your hands, but you're suffering from writer's block and nothing is coming out. Everything feels wrong. Nothing feels good enough. Look, writing a novel can be a real emotional roller coaster. That's why I created this video series in which I will feature specific exercises that you can do to overcome writer's block and take the guesswork out of writing a novel. And before I go any further, I wrote a book that you can download for free at electrifiedwriters.com. A little guided planning and preparation could save you years of frustration and put you on the fast track to where you want to be as an author. How do I know this? Even though I earned a bachelor's in literature and a master's in creative writing, I still spent more than 20 years not writing the novel of my dreams. I ended up taking a safe job in tech. Every day at the end of the day, because it was a creative job, I had zero energy left over to write. I treated writing like a chore. Ugh. But then, after 20 years of putting my dreams aside, I finally decided it was time. I was going to write a novel. Not only that, I made a plan to write a novel in 60 days, and it worked. Eventually, I was able to retire from my tech career, and now I'm a full-time author. I'm here to share my strategies so that you can live the life of your dreams too. There is nothing that feels as good as holding your novel in your hands for the first time. Truly, it's exhilarating. There's just nothing like it. I want that for you. And I believe in you because I know that if I could do it despite being neurodivergent and having chronic illness, I know you can do this too. I found that there are 5 key elements to overcoming writer's block for good. I like to call them the 5 M's: motivation, mindset, methodology, means, and momentum. These exercises are a timeless and valuable addition to any writer's practice. The important thing is that by taking time to plan and prepare, we're more likely to set realistic goals, take action, and have fun in the process. The first M is motivation. I want you to think back on a time that you did something really difficult, not because you had to, but because you wanted to. I want you to think about what really got you through that. What were you thinking about? What were you visualizing that helped you get all the way to the end, to see it through without quitting? Ultimately, people do things because they're motivated by something I like to call a strong force. The more the strong force is rooted in something unshakable inside of you, like a moral or belief or a firmly held value, the more likely doing that difficult thing is not going to seem so difficult. And the more likely you are to see it through. So, what I decided to do in order to get in touch with my strong force was devise something I like to call my writing story. What makes me a writer, why I keep writing even when times are difficult. For me, as a kid, reading and writing were a means of escape. I was bullied relentlessly at school. I loved escaping into a good book or writing a good story. And when I was in 6th grade, I decided I really wanted to write a novel. This was primarily inspired by S.E. Hinton's The Outsiders, which, if you know anything about this book, the lore is that she wrote it when she was somewhere between 13 and 15 years old. So in 6th grade, I was 11. I decided, hey, I could beat that. I could do the same thing and write a novel of my own. I decided to write a story about a band of misfits that was being abused at home, and they decided to run away. People in my class started to notice that I was writing, and I got really worried that I was going to be bullied for writing yet again. However, when they asked me what I was writing and I said I was writing a novel, suddenly everybody wanted to be a character in my book. It was not what I was expecting, but it was the most popularity I had ever experienced as a kid. And so I decided to roll with it. And I realized, oh, along with writing comes fame, and fame comes popularity, and popularity comes self-esteem. And that was my writing story. I wrote because one day I wanted to be a famous author. I wanted to be really popular, and I didn't ever want to be bullied again. The problem with that as a motivation is that doesn't really carry through when life circumstances started getting in the way. I remember picking up a book one summer and thinking, I want to write. I want to write a book like this. I want to write a story like this. It reminded me that when I was young, I read as a refuge and that reading was a place for me to feel safe and seen. And in that moment, I realized, what if I could help others feel safe and seen when they read something I wrote. It was really my desire to serve others through my novel that kept me going through that time. Not a desire to be famous, not a desire to get all my self-esteem from my readers, but a desire to do for others what reading had done for me when I was young. And that was what motivated me to see my novel through to the end. So for you, when you're thinking about your motivation and you are trying to devise your own writing story, one of the things that you have to consider is what is it that made you start writing in the first place? That motivation may or may not be the thing that sees you through to the end when you're writing a novel now. Let's say you started writing when you were a little kid. You might have simply written for fun or because you had a big imagination and you needed a place to put all of those ideas. You might have been writing as an escape, like what I was writing for, or simply to entertain yourself and others. That reason may still resonate with you, but is it going to be a reason that is strong enough that it takes you away from washing the dishes when they need to be washed and saying, you know what, this is actually more important. I need to do this now. Is it going to be the thing that makes you pause and say, instead of watching Netflix tonight, I am going to work on my novel? You need something that is going to motivate you beyond the other distractions in your life. Those reasons, those core motivations, those are the things that are going to get you writing, even when you feel like saying, I don't have time. You will find time. You will make time because these things are so important to you. You know, these are core intrinsic motivations. That means things that are driven inside of us. And that sense of purpose is incredibly strong. If you feel like your writing has a purpose, you will find a way to get it done no matter what. I know for me, my sense of purpose comes from the idea that I'm going to be helping people with my books. It's why for the last couple of years, I've been working on a middle grade series because I needed books when I was in the middle grades. My family moved cross country. It was really painful to have to start from scratch and make friends all over again. I spent a lot of time with my nose in a book so that I could escape from the stresses of the social atmosphere that I was in. I think about me at that age. I write these books that I'm writing right now. I write them for me at that age, and I write them for other kids who might be going through similar times where maybe they feel like they don't fit in, or maybe the social world is just too overwhelming for them. They can work out some of the horrors of the real world in my horror middle grade novels. Whatever you decide your core motivation is, that intrinsic motivation that's inside of you, whatever that is, you're going to want to come back to that intrinsic motivation over and over again because it is more likely to drive positive, sustainable writing behavior. I highly encourage you to write your writing story in story form. You're going to start with when you first discovered your love of creative writing. Talk about your childhood, if that's when it all started. You're going to write about the obstacles that you faced all along the way. You're going to write about what drove you to write then and what keeps you driven to keep writing today. From now on, when someone asks you why you write, this is the story that you are going to tell them. And when you feel like you're running out of motivation or you're not following through on your writing goals, this is the story that you're going to retell to yourself to get yourself back on track. Leave me a comment. Let me know if you've tried this exercise, whether or not it worked for you. Please tell me your motivation story in the comments below. Please motivate others. It's not just good for me, it motivates everybody out there who might be struggling. Friendly reminder that you can find the workbook that includes this exercise as well as many others at electrifiedwriters.com. Because I believe it's so effective, especially to do all of the exercises consecutively. When you download that workbook, I will be sending you daily motivational pep talks via email to remind you that you can do this and to emphasize how effective these exercises are at busting through writer's block every time.